The 25th Hour Radio Show. Today on the show, I have CEO and Principal Consultant of Global Media Risk, Shannon Sedgwick, joining me on the show. Shannon, it's a pleasure having you as my guest today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
I guess the obvious first question to ask you today, Shannon, is what does your company, Global Media Risk, do?
Well, essentially, we're a risk consultancy company that offers training and security and risk advice to anywhere from corporate entities to media organizations to going overseas into conflict zones. We also offer safety training for those journalists, and also we do emergency preparedness training for corporate entities and schools and non-government organizations. Our task is quite broad, but we work at an international level. A lot of our clients are outside the US, and we've been gaining a fairly large foothold stateside as well.
So explain to me a little bit about your background and what made you want to do this type of work.
Well, I'm ex-Australian military. I've always had an interest in providing safety and risk advice in, let's say, austere environments, third world countries. I've always been interested in travel. The two mixed, and it's just since 9/11, there's just been a huge call for our type of services, and the business is really expanding rapidly right now, and especially with all these recent active shooter incidents. And Americans want to feel safe, and I enjoy providing the means for citizens to feel safe.
So, what do you think of the current situation in Syria regarding ISIS and the refugee crisis?
Well, it's a hard situation to read. I've traveled to Syria and southern Turkey numerous times in the past year, and also to northern Iraq, and it's ISIS are getting new members every day with the influx of foreign fighters through southern Turkey's foreign borders, and it's hard to find a solution when not everybody agrees on what the solution should be. Americans are very hesitant for the military to get involved again after Iraq and Afghanistan. Nobody wants to see more caskets coming home with, perished U.S. military, and nobody wants to see that. So the U.S. has taken a softly approach with it, just committing to airstrikes and funding, but it's a hard situation to read, and especially now that Russia has come into play, and they have their own objectives to achieve, not just ISIS, but also all rebel groups who are against the Syrian government under Assad. It's a messy situation from political and a military point of view.
So what do you think can be done to stop the flow of international fighters, some being from America, joining ISIS?
I think more needs to be done at the community level. It's not just stopping them before they leave, or stopping them at the airport, or cancelling their passports once they're gone. I think it needs to be, especially young people, and it needs to be addressed at a community level. I think there needs to be more acceptance within the community. Some Americans blamed the Muslim community as a whole, and I think that's wrong, because the Muslim community has just as much, if not more, to lose from these foreign fighters going and joining this, quite frankly, hypocritical Muslim organisation. They don't stand for what Islam is truly about at all. I think there needs to be education, either through schools or to the community, to our Islamic youth, and show that they are accepted and that they can talk to people about their problems. They're not. They shouldn't feel disenfranchised from the rest of America. They're Americans too.
Now, regarding national security, what do you think the solution is for the recent increase in active shooter incidents? Especially in American schools.
Well, through our active shooter incident training and our emergency response training that we provide to schools, key indicators before an event. Usually when a active shooter incident happens, the shooter is actually either related or involved with the school in some way, related to students or staff. And it's important for teaching staff and families, students to recognise what key indicators are of somebody who's, having these thoughts. And because usually people don't just snap. It's a plan. Most active shooters have planned their attacks out for weeks or months on end, and they carry them out after significant planning. They need to realise what those indicators are, but also they need to be prepared in case an active shooter situation does happen at their school. They need to know where to hide, how to best hide yourself, what to do if the gunman comes into your classroom. There's who's in charge of instigating the emergency action plan within the school, what happens when police arrive. There's many different factors. People should be trained in self-defense and first aid to help deal with the situation after that happens.
Shannon, I'm sure people are curious to know, what's the most dangerous situation you have been involved with?
That's a good question. I think what comes to mind most is a recent trip earlier in the year where I was in Kobane when ISIS was surrounding the city with media clients, and we received quite accurate indirect fire in our position, and our truck was heavily damaged, and we had to get out of there. There was quite a lot of injured people around, and we had to run for our lives, and that was probably the most high-risk situation that I've been in, because it just started out of nowhere. There was no warning of it, and we were pushed back by the Turkish military. After that, we were pushed back to a designated safe zone, and throughout the week, slowly got pushed further and further back from the city to film from southern Turkey side. But that was a very high-risk and tense situation, but fortunately, we kept our record of having no clients injured whilst under our care.
That's amazing. What about the international travelers who are amongst us, Shannon? Do you have any travel tips for them?
I think one of the most important travel tips that I pass on to people is something as simple as insurance. Make sure you have insurance and that your insurance covers all of your travel needs, whether that'll be a potential, if you're in a remote area, ambulance or helicopters or anything, or diving incidents. You have to look at what you're going to be doing on the holiday and make sure your insurance covers that there's no hidden clauses. Also, just be aware, research the place you're going to beforehand and know your security threats. Choose your hotel wisely. And when you get to your hotel, make sure you know the emergency exit points and where the evacuation area is. It's the research that you do beforehand that really comes into play. Also, in regards to your health, if you're in a third world country, don't get drinks with ice in it. Use straws that come with the cover. You open it yourself. Don't take a straw that somebody else has opened for you. Simple health and hygiene tips: keep your hands clean, use hand sanitizer. It's the basic things that people forget that get them in a lot of trouble, I think.
Shannon, I'm curious, do you find there is a difference when working with American journalists and, let's say, European journalists?
There's quite a big difference. Actually, European journalists are usually quite more reserved. They're quiet and very reserved in the way that they deliver their news. They're sometimes a little bit hesitant about pushing the boundaries of their safety to get the right shot. Whereas Americans, it's quite interesting working with American journalists because they'll do anything to get the shot, including putting themselves in almost harm's way to get the shot, and they're quite aggressive the way they deliver to the camera, and almost a boxing stance when they deliver the news. And it's quite interesting to watch the difference between where journalists come from, whether it's Europe or Southeast Asia. But Americans are usually quite aggressive in the way that they deliver the news and gain their intelligence and their reporting facts. It's quite good working with American journalists, actually. It's always exciting.
In the position you're in, Shannon, I know you spend a lot of time traveling. What has been your favorite country to visit so far, and why?
My favorite country to visit so far, surprisingly, would be in northern Iraq, Kurdistan. I I really enjoy the Kurdish, spending time with the Kurdish people, and they're very giving, a very giving country, and they've got nothing in some instances, the refugees, but they'll give you everything they have. It's and there's quite beautiful parts of that country up in the north and in the mountains. It's a really interesting place. It's a real eye opener. It makes you thankful for what you have, and I enjoy going back there. I've been back about 4 or 5 times now, and I always enjoy going back.
Okay, Shannon, last question, and I've saved the most important for last. What's the best and worst countries for food?
Best and worst countries for food. Best for food, I would say, would be, I really enjoyed Japan.
Uh-huh.
Japanese have amazing food, very fresh, and probably worst for food. Or I'm going to have to say Turkey for that one. I'm not a fan of Turkish cuisine. It's a bit. I got quite sick while I was in southern Turkey.
So you won't be opening up any Turkish restaurants anytime soon?
No Turkish restaurants for me. I prefer sticking with fresh food and things. A bit too much fried food, and maybe the Turkish restaurants that I was visiting weren't the best. But I apologise to any Turkish listeners. I'm sure that the traditional food might be nicer.
Shannon, is there anything else you would like to mention before we start to wrap things up? Do you have a website, or do you do social media or anything like that?
Yeah, well, we're on Instagram under Global Media Risk. The name. We're also on Twitter, Global Media Risk again, and you can welcome to visit our website on www.globalmediarisk.com. Our services there. We, as I said, the active shooter training is a large part of what we do, and anybody who is interested in having that taught at their school, it is nationally recognised, our training. And I appreciate you. The interview and all the questions you had for me, Robert. It's been great being on.
The 25th Hour Radio Show.